we today? I know it's gorgeous outside, and I know it's the start of vacation right after this, right? So we're going to get started. Thanks for coming today. If you would like to look at Blackboard on your phone for a minute, I want to check something with you. Blackboard Mobile for you looks really different for me, and I can't see your view, so I want to make sure that everybody understands how to see what your grade is. So if you go into our Blackboard class and find the grade book, you should be able to find a total somewhere, and it looks like a fraction. It might say something like 4 out of 6 or 5 out of 6 at this point, or 1. Hopefully it doesn't say 1 out of 6. Can anybody see that? Can you let me know with your hand if you can see that ratio? A few people can? Okay. So that's how you're going to see what your grade is going to be in this class. And because Blackboard doesn't understand that we operate off of points and that you only need 10 points, it's going to give different colors. So if you see red or you see yellow, don't worry about that for this class. Because all you need to worry about is that you have 10 points by the end of the semester. So at the end of the semester, if it says 10 out of 18 and it's red because Blackboard thinks like, oh, that's not a really good number, don't worry about the color. 10 is all you need. So the top number needs to be 10. The bottom number is just the total possible points that you could have gotten. But really, that's probably not even possible that you would have gotten every single point. So does that make sense? You need a 10 out of something. The bottom number doesn't matter. You need a 10 on top. And if you have a 10 on top, that's going to be a grade of S, which is a passing grade. If you have a 9 on top at the end of the semester when all the events are over, then unfortunately that's not a passing grade, and it's going to be a U. But a U isn't an F. It doesn't affect your GPA or anything like that. It just means you won't get credit for the class. Does anybody have questions about grading, Blackboard, anything? Great, then I must have explained it very well. I'll take it as a compliment. So we have today a guest from the Center for Integrative and Experiential Learning, which is also known as SEAL. SEAL, like the animal, how cute. And she is the assistant director of this program and is going to tell you some things about what they do and how you could possibly get involved and benefit from the things that they do. So please welcome Lauren Epps.
Awesome. Well, hi, and thank you again for braving the rain to come out on Friday before spring break. So, again, my name is Lauren Epps. I serve as the Assistant Director in SEAL. So I specifically manage the Graduation with Leadership Distinction Program. How many of you have heard about ever before GLD? Okay. So you might get a little refresher today. Several of you, this might be new news. So that is kind of the focus of our office. It's our hallmark program, but there are a couple of other pieces to our office that are newer that I also wanted to share with you today. So the first one is this MyUSC experience. It's a database and also a transcript. So I'm going to show you both pieces. Has anybody heard of this part, the MyUSC experience? Okay, so maybe sometimes we hear about this in U101 classes, if that is familiar for you. Really, this is a one-stop shop for finding things to do on campus. So finding ways to get involved. The whole point of our office is to help you make the most of your time here at Carolina, and we want you to find the things that are happening in really easy ways, because we are a big campus and there are a lot of offices to remember, so we try to make it a little bit simpler. So the database looks like this. And I will be honest, I heard in a presentation earlier today that QR code does not work, so don't even worry about it. But you can see what it looks like, or you can type it in on your phone. It is really neat in the way that it is searchable and it's filterable. So you can find things to do on campus that are course-based or not course-based. You can find things that are related to your major, to your industry, things that you're just interested in, like maybe study abroad or research or peer leadership. All of those things you can find in the MyUSC Experience database. And it's really a great kind of resource to have and refer back to if you realize maybe there's a gap in your resume that you want to fill. You can use the database as a way to kind of plug in different opportunities or different things that you can get involved with. The cool part about the database is, say you find something that you want to do through the database and you get connected to that opportunity. Everything that's in the database translates to the MyUSC experience transcript. So, fun fact, how many of you knew that you actually have 2 transcripts at USC? Okay, you learned something new today. There you go. You have 2 transcripts as a USC student. One is your academic transcript. So your very traditional, like, academic courses and your grades that kind of reflects your academic experience. The other one is this MyUSC experience transcript, and that's everything else. So we want you to get credit for all the other things you're doing on campus, right? We know you do more than just go to class and go to sleep. So this is a great way to sort of show employers or graduate schools or your mom that you are doing more with your tuition dollar, that you are getting the most bang for your buck at Carolina and you are participating in all these wonderful things. It looks like that. It is stamped by the official registrar of the university, just like our academic transcript, and it is a really great way to build out your resume. It's categorized, so it'll show you all the different things that you've participated in that are related to, let's see, what is that first one? Campus activities, or capstone experiences, or education abroad, or service learning. There are all these different ways that then you can customize on the back end in your Self-Service Carolina account. You can customize these co-curricular transcripts to however you want it to look. So you can download them and then send them off to future employers to say, here is all of my music-related things on my co-curricular transcript, or here are all of my service-related things. Or here's a wonderful kind of hand-picked and hand-tailored culmination of all my experiences outside of my courses. So it's a really cool resource for you that our office promotes as well. Questions about the database or the transcript? Okay. The next piece to our office is the Carolina Engage Grant. Anybody heard of the Carolina Engage Grant? Okay, you might have heard it as CEG for short. This is free money. Okay, so just repeat, remember, free money, right? Okay, so the Carolina Engage Grant is designed to help you get involved beyond the classroom. We want to reduce the financial burden for those things that oftentimes have a cost associated with them. Things like study abroad. Plane tickets are super expensive, right? If you're going to travel to a conference or to an event where you need maybe professional clothing or you need gas money back and forth, all of those things you can use with the Carolina Engage Grant. It's up to $500. It is a reimbursement process, so I say that on the front end, but we try to get your money back as quickly as possible. We have a lot of money that we want to give away to students, so I want you to take advantage of this. Is anybody, who in here is music industry studies? You will definitely hear about this grant for sure if you're working with Jeremy Polly. He is a huge advocate for this grant, and I'm guessing you'll all be applying at some point during your college career. So take advantage of it. Here are the requirements. You have to be an undergrad student. Check. You have to have a 2.2 GPA or higher. Hopefully, check. You have to be participating in some sort of beyond the classroom experience. It cannot be tuition, so you can't use it to take a class, but pretty much anything else, you can use it. We want you to submit it about a month in advance. We need time to process these things, so tell us before the thing actually happens that you're interested in the money. And then on the back end, after the thing happens, whatever it is, you'll submit a reflection to us via Garnet Gate. This is how we give you your money back. We want to know how the thing went. We want to know how you enjoyed the experience, what you learned from it, what you got out of it, if you would do it again. And so all of those things are really helpful for us to know through that reflection process. And then again, that is sort of your receipt for us to then reimburse you the money. Questions about the Carolina Engage Grant? Okay. So now I'm going to talk about GLD. This may be a refresher for you, but we are an official academic distinction that, similar to the database and the Carolina Engage Grant, is all about your involvement. If you're noticing a theme to our office, it's all about you being involved at Carolina, doing more than just your classes, but also making meaning from what you're learning in your courses to what you're seeing sort of in real life in your experiences. So we want to give you some credit for that, some acknowledgement, and graduation with leadership distinction is a really neat way that we do that. It goes on your transcript, both of them, and it goes on your diploma. So right after your name, when you see your diploma like framed in your office one day, it will say, with leadership distinction. It's like a gold star on your diploma, so it makes you look super special. And you also get the garnet and black cords to wear at graduation. We know that's always a nice selling point. So right now, the number's about 400 students every year earn this distinction. It's about 8% of every graduating class. Let me ask y'all, when you hear those numbers, what does that mean to you? What do you think about when you hear 400 students a year, 8%? Just yell something.
It's hard.
It's hard. Okay, there are some requirements. There's some work you gotta do, for sure. I'll give you that. What else? It does look good on your resume, and it makes you look special, right? I have no idea who said that, but somewhere over here. Because it's a small group, right? If you're within that 8% of every graduating class, you're automatically standing out when you go into your job search or your graduate school search or whatever's coming next for you. What else? It is an accomplishment. It's something to be proud of, right? Not everybody earns it. So how do you do it? There are 5 different pathways or 5 different ways that you can earn GLD. Think of these as your tracks or focus areas. We just call them pathways. It depends on what you're interested in. So if you are really passionate about serving a community and you do a lot of volunteering or kind of traditional unpaid service, maybe the community service pathway is a good fit for you. If you are really interested in specific populations or issues of social justice, diversity and social advocacy can be a great pathway for you. If you are planning to study abroad during your time at Carolina, or you are an international student and coming to USC is your study abroad experience, the global learning pathway can be a good fit. Our most popular, and maybe the one that aligns really nicely with y'all as music majors, is our professional and civic engagement pathway. And I'll show you what that looks like, but it's all about leadership and professional development. So things like work and internships and practicum experiences. And then we also have a research pathway. So there is something for everyone, which is nice. Here are the requirements. No matter what pathway you choose, the same 6 requirements are here. The first one is a 3.0 GPA at the time of graduation. It's actually the very last thing that we check right before you walk the stage at graduation to officially determine that you have earned GLD. So it's the first on the list, but it's the last thing that we actually do. So you have until the day you walk to have a 3.0. The other 5 things you can work on throughout your time at Carolina. So if you're a first-year student, you can start working on your core experience now, today, even as far back as the fall. It can be retroactive. But you can work on it all of your time, again, until you graduate. There are some enhancement activities that sort of round out your pathway in addition to the core experience. Because we're helping you kind of put together the academic side of college with the not academic side of college, there is a coursework component. I'll show you what that looks like. And then there's 2 projects that you would complete as a senior. So 1 presentation and an e-portfolio. And I'll tell you what those look like as well. But 6 total things. All right, so here's the first one. The core experience, I know that's a lot of numbers, don't be scared. Depending on what pathway you choose, you would look at just that set of numbers. It's a pretty hefty time commitment. I mean, if you're looking at these, it's like 200, 300 hours typically. But again, you're working on it across 4 years, potentially. So you have lots of time to determine which pathway you want and how you're going to obtain the hours. Let's say you are interested in community service. It's the most straightforward, just straight up 300 hours of community service in 2 different experiences. We don't care what 2 experiences you choose as long as they're unpaid volunteering. It can be 299 and 1 hour, that's 2 experiences, or it can be more like 10 experiences of a handful of hours each. Totally up to you in how you get those hours. Let's say you're interested in professional and civic engagement. I mentioned that's our most popular. There's 2 pieces to this one, so it's a little unique. One is that leadership role, so 1 semester of a leadership position. That can be a lot of different things. Maybe it's a student org position where you are on the executive board. You're elected to a position within a student organization. That can be a fraternity, sorority, that can be an honor society, that can be a just for fun club, whatever you want to use there. It can also be things like peer leadership. So if you're a U101 peer leader, or you're an ambassador or an orientation leader, all of those kind of peer leader roles offered on campus count as leadership positions. It can also be off-campus leadership, things that you just do in your life outside of USC in the community. This can be things like being the manager at Starbucks, or being some sort of like committee chair within maybe a religious affiliated organization, or something back home. We don't care how you get exposed to leadership ideas, we just want you to have some, right? And to have a semester of experience practicing leadership skills. The other piece is the work and professional side. So we want you to have 240 hours of some sort of work or professional internship practicum experience. Again, that can look like a lot of different things. Usually that is like a summer internship, so about 40 hours a week for 6 weeks, a summer, or part-time work for a semester or a school year, 10 to 20 hours a week, and you'd have that done pretty quickly. So 240 hours might sound like a lot, but it is accomplishable, I promise. Is that a word? I don't know, I just made it up. Either way, we try to be flexible with your options in the core experience because we know everyone's college experience looks different. And we want this process to be authentic to you and what's gonna be the most helpful for you as you anticipate graduating and moving on to the next phase of your life. Questions about other pathways or other core experiences? Like, does this count, or can I use that? Yeah.
So music majors are really busy.
Yes.
And so it's hard to sometimes think about taking on another project like this. So I'm wondering what kind of things that some of them are already doing could count towards this. I know a lot of our students volunteer to help with festivals that we have here in the
Yeah.
School of Music, like the band clinic or the piano festival or the jazz festival, and they put in a lot of hours of work for those kind of things. For like the presentation you mentioned, could that be a concert? Can you give us some ideas of things that you're already doing that maybe you could?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. And I don't claim any expertise on the lives of a music student, but I know you're busy, and I know you're doing a lot. And so what we find is that typically the things that you're already engaging in will fit in here somewhere. I liked your example of like helping with festivals and volunteering in that way. Certainly that could be service because you're serving the music community, whether that's college students or sort of broader Columbia area. Maybe that's also leadership. Maybe you have some sort of authority, right, where you're planning or you're in charge of a group of people, a committee per se. Maybe that's your leadership experience and you want to use that for the professional and civic engagement pathway. We had a student maybe 2 years ago now who really was focused on a specific type of student. She did the diversity and social advocacy pathway, and she was really interested in working with students who were deaf. And so a lot of her hours were through her role as a music student, but she was serving the deaf community. And she was volunteering that 200 hours with the local deaf community and students, in particular, students who were in school who were deaf. And then she did a project where she created a music advocacy day. Do you remember this? And it was fabulous. It was so cool. So kind of take your passion areas and see how they can fit in here. The good news is we have a team of advisors who are experts in all the requirements of GLD. And so we can help you kind of piece together what you're already doing and see how it can count for GLD. Other questions? Okay, let me show you the next piece. So the next one is enhancement activities, and these are the smaller things that kind of help you round out your pathway. So we want you to get exposure to what it means to be a person who serves the community in the community service pathway, or what it means to be a professional in your field if you did the professional and civic engagement pathway. And so we want you to think about things that you may be already doing as a college student, as a music student, that may help you understand some aspect of your pathway better. Maybe that's doing job shadowing, where you're going into a local field or a school or industry where you're seeing someone do the thing that you want to do as a professional. Maybe you attend some workshops, some guest lectures that are hosted through the School of Music. Maybe you're part of a student organization that gives you some professional development or some exposure to different people and ideas about your field. All these different things that you might already be doing as part of your busy schedule, these can count as enhancement activities. We require 3 of them, from the day you started as a first-year student or a transfer student till the day you graduate. So that's a lot of time to come up with 3 activities, right? It's really broad. We leave it up to you on purpose because we want it to fit in with what you're interested in. Here's the next piece. This is the academic piece. I told you we were kind of making connections, right, between academic and not academic. So we want you to take some courses that are somehow related to your pathway. And how we determine what courses are related to your pathway is through our course lists. We have a list for every pathway. They are, I think maybe like 100 plus for each pathway. So there are lots to choose from. But we want you to choose 2. 6 credit hours with a B or better from whichever list is relevant for your pathway. So what you see in the community service pathway list might not necessarily be on the research list. Those classes look very different because you're learning about different things. But they are pretty lengthy, and there are lots of options that are both within your Carolina Core curriculum and sometimes things that you'll take for your major. We are adding new courses to that list every semester. So take a look at them and see what is out there that you may already be taking. This should be the easiest part of GLD because you're a college student. You're here to take classes. You are definitely taking courses. So we don't want you to have to take extra classes just to earn GLD. We'll work with you in this way. Now here are the last 2 pieces. I mentioned there's 2 kind of culminating projects for GLD. These are the 2, and they will happen as a senior. So as a senior, either fall or spring or even summer, you can complete these 2 projects. The goal of them is to help you reflect on your time as a college student and figure out what you've learned and how you've grown and changed over your 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 years here. So we want you to reflect back on some kind of meaningful experience and then tell us about it. The first one is a sort of spoken presentation or a spoken reflection, and most students do that at Discover USC, but there are a couple other options I'll mention. Discover USC happens every April. It's a giant poster style event. It happens in the convention center. Think middle school science fair, but like 1,000 of your closest friends. So that's what that event is all about. And you would make a poster talking about something that you've done in college outside of a course. So maybe you talk about an event that you planned, or a leadership position that you held, or that Maymester trip that you really enjoyed. You get to decide and talk about how it was impactful for you. You can also do a couple other events. It doesn't have to be Discover USC. Say you present at a conference, either local or regional or national conference. That kind of presentation can count for GLD too, a nice 2-for-1 bonus. Say you apply for a national fellowship or scholarship, like the big ones, like Truman and Rhodes and Goldwater. There are several of those really competitive, really intense application processes where you work with a faculty committee. Because they're so intense, we'll count it for GLD too. So again, a 2-for-1 special. If you do research with a faculty mentor and you get your research published in an academic journal, we'll count that as your presentation. There are lots of different ways to complete this presentation requirement, but the goal is that you are somehow in a public venue articulating what you've done and what you've learned.
I have another question.
Yeah.
This is about your situation. If you're a music performance major, you do a senior recital, it's an hour recital of performance.
Mm-hmm.
Could that count as a presentation or something like that?
So something like that for sure. Here's what I'll say. I think we've had this happen in the past, and I can't remember when, but a student used their senior recital as the presentation and then sort of did an additional reflection piece for us. They incorporated that into the recital, and then they sort of submitted the written version to us. Like, here's why I selected these pieces. I know that's an intentional process, right? You didn't just get up here and decide on a whim what you were going to perform. Here are the choices that I made in picking these pieces. Here's the theme of what I was going for. Here's how it represents my college experience and the growth that I've had. And absolutely, that is the equivalent of all of these poster presentations for a music student. Yeah, thank you for asking. The other piece, so where the presentation is typically spoken or performed, this is the written piece. So the ePortfolio is a website that you get to build and take with you after graduation. How many college students can say, I have a personal website, hire me? Not many. So this is,
Musicians all need to have websites.
yes, they should. This will give you a reason to make one. So the ePortfolio is a great project because it gives you a tangible product to take with you. It is all about integrative learning. We are the Center for Integrative and Experiential Learning. This is how we do integrative learning in our office. We want you to put together the things that you're seeing in your courses, the theories and the concepts, and how they translate into real life. How do you apply those theories and concepts into your experiences, into your leadership, into your service, into your research? We want to see how those things come together for you and how you make meaning of them, and then we want you to write about it in a portfolio. So I'll show you one so you have a visual. Okay, so here is one from a couple of years ago now, actually, but you get to design the website to look however you want. So they are very customizable. We want it to fit your aesthetic and your personality to showcase you and who you are. So this student was a business major. She graduated with GLD in professional and civic engagement. But you can see sort of these pieces to every ePortfolio, no matter what it looks like. The first piece is this About Me section. And you don't have to read it, just know it's kind of like it sounds. You talk about yourself. You talk about your major and your experiences while you've been at college and where you're headed after graduation. And then you do some reflection. So we call these reflective essays key insights. Like, what are the insights that you can glean from your experiences and putting them together and making connections? So I mentioned Cecilia was a business student. She talks about this marketing course that she took. And again, you don't have to read this, but she took a marketing course where she learned about putting the customer first, right? This customer first orientation to everything that goes along with marketing. And then she was able to apply what she learned in that class to her role as a student worker in the Office of Parent and Family Programs, where you obviously have to put the customer first when you're working with parents and families of college students, especially who are coming to the campus for the first time. So she talks about how she was seeing these lessons kind of translate into her role and how she's going to use that in her future professional career, right? So she's talking about how these things are coming together for her. And she gives documentation. We get artifacts. We get evidence that you can show employers, not only can I talk about what I did, but here's some evidence to back it up. So that's pretty cool. So you would do that 3 times. 3 different courses, 3 different experiences, put them together and tell us why it mattered. Like, what did it mean for you? How are you different as a result of these? And then it leads up to this leadership section. And this is really where graduation with leadership distinction gets its name. It's not about like positional authority or who had the coolest title. It's really this essay. And we want you to have critical thinking. That's what the whole point of this is. We want solution-oriented thinkers when you graduate from USC, that your employers and your grad schools and your friends and your family can all see that if you have a problem, you know how to work it through, that you can figure out how to solve it and address it to implement change in a positive way. And so Cecilia was here during COVID, and she noticed that one problem on campus was students' mental health, right? We know that's a problem, especially during COVID time. And so she talks about why that was such an issue on our campus specifically. And she talks about through her experiences as a marketing major, through her experiences as a U101 peer leader and her role as a student worker, how she was able to see sort of the power of belonging, right? That power of putting customers first or putting students first at the center of everything we do as a campus, and how she could use those lessons to make change. So she talks about, here's what I would do. I'm going to launch a campaign. I'm going to work with these partners on campus to build this network of change advocates. And she talks about how she would do that and how she would know it was successful. Pretty compelling stuff, right? So you would build all of these things into your ePortfolio, and then you get to take it with you and use it however you want to showcase you and your skills to employers on your LinkedIn page, on your resume, show your grandma, she'll be super impressed. Any way you want is valid to us, but that's what the ePortfolio project is all about. Now, I know that y'all are busy, and senior year is crazy. Also, the ePortfolio is hard, so we offer support. We don't want you to go through that process alone. We typically say it takes about 50 hours from start to finish to build an ePortfolio, to figure out how to reflect, to like actually write the thing, and to make the website. If you're gonna make a website anyway, because y'all should have one, then factor in maybe a little less time, because you were already gonna do that. But we have some support methods where we want you to get accountability, because senioritis is real, get some support, get some feedback, because the ePortfolio is the one piece of GLD that is graded. You have to pass it to earn GLD. We want you, if you can, to take that University 401 course. It's offered fall, spring, and I'll add summer to that. It's 1 credit. If you can squeeze it in, we've got in-person, we've got half semester, and we have online asynchronous options. So there's lots to accommodate your schedule. But it is the best way to do the ePortfolio. It's a small class, it's very practical, there's not a lot of fluff or lecture. It's all about how do we build this thing from start to finish so that your final exam basically is the final ePortfolio website. It's built and it's done and it's passing. So we feel really good about students who take that University 401 course. We recommend it for everybody, but we know that sometimes that just doesn't line up with your schedule. So we also have structured advising, which is a workshop series. Basically, it's more self-paced. You have to be a little more independently motivated to do this, but it is still a good option. It's out there. Okay, so let me hear from y'all. I asked you at the beginning, but now you know more. Why might someone want to do GLD? Like, what are some of the benefits you see? Yeah, just yell them out.
It looks good on a resume.
It looks awesome on a resume. Yes, it does. Yeah. Yeah, it's helping you build certain skills, right? You have to make a website. You have to practice talking to people. You're having to write and think creatively. Lots of good skills in there. What else? Yeah.
Expands your experiences.
Absolutely, and kind of in 2 ways. What we find is typically students are already doing some of the requirements to earn GLD, so you are already on track without even knowing it, but maybe GLD is that extra push to do an extra thing, or something that you wouldn't have necessarily done, maybe for an enhancement activity, to kind of get you out of your comfort zone. So it's a really nice kind of extra force to give you a well-rounded college experience. Anything else? Okay, so when we poll students, here's what they say. The biggest thing is the opportunity to reflect. I don't know about y'all, I am not a natural reflector. Like, I don't go home and diary about my life and what I learned, right? So if that is also you, GLD is a great way to build that skill, because reflection is a skill. It's not natural. We have to think about it to be good at it. But GLD can help support you through building that reflection skill and becoming a little more critical of, like, not just living life day to day, but also analyzing and thinking about why things matter and why things are important to us. We know it looks good on a resume. It can help you practice your confidence in interviews. You get a website to take with you, get to be creative and professional at the same time, and it helps you stand out. These are all awesome reasons to pursue GLD. If you're a numbers person, I'll just share this with you too. We know that employers are not just looking for your GPA or your major anymore, right? So they want that something extra. They want the practical sense, that kind of hands-on experience to know this candidate can do the job and do the job well, okay? GLD can be that something extra for you, right? You're doing all these wonderful experiences, but how are you gonna set yourself up to articulate them in the interview? How are you gonna set yourself up to then prove that you are gonna be better than the rest of the hiring pool? Let GLD sort of give you that leg up in your search. So if you're interested, there are a couple of next steps. As long as you are not graduating in May, if you're graduating in May, I have unfortunate news that it is too late for you. But if you're not graduating in May, then you can pursue GLD. So if you're graduating in August or any time after that, you can start with your GLD application in whatever pathway you choose. It looks just like that. You can start entering experiences now. I promise it's easier to do them as they happen than it is to look back like 2 or 3 or 4 years ago and remember when you were doing that thing. So start putting in your experiences. We also have a team of advisors who can meet with you. So we are here to help kind of translate what is your lived experience into the GLD application puzzle. So we can help you help tell you where things count or how things count or if they don't count. We are here to support you through that process. So you can make an appointment with us one-on-one. You can drop into our office. We have virtual drop-in hours as well. So come and find us, come and chat with us, ask us whatever questions you have, because we want to support you through this. But while you have me, and I'm here, what questions do you have for me? Yeah.
Would working a campus job like RA count for some of the work experience?
Absolutely. Okay, so being an RA counts in two ways, actually. Being an RA is awesome leadership, right? You have to do with a lot of conflict management, you're planning events, you're doing all these great things. It also counts as work experience. It's a paid job, right? I think being an RA, you get like over 300 hours in a semester. So, yeah, it's a lot, right? So yes, you could use that as either leadership or professional. Yeah. Student teaching can be an internship, absolutely. It's also unpaid, so it can be service. Yeah. Yeah, we are really broad on what service means. It's basically as long as you are not getting paid for it and you are directly serving some sort of community. So say you do some sort of like community outreach event. Wedding, we'd have to talk about. But there are lots of options where gigs can be service. A paid gig would be work experience, exactly. Any current GLD students? Or any, like, I've at least started an application, like I'm kind of thinking about it? Okay. Was that a yes, I am, or yes, I have a question? Okay, cool. Anything else I can answer for you? Okay, I'll just mention too, I'll just give him a shout out. I think I mentioned earlier, Jeremy Pauley, if you're in music industry studies, is one of our faculty fellows. We have a team of faculty who work directly with GLD students to support them through the ePortfolio. So if you know him and you love him, as you should, then you can work with him through this process and he can answer a lot of questions that are specific to like music life as well. I think that's all I have.